Oh, what have you been up to, AJ?
All right, mate.
All right.
Oh, good to be back in the old studio. It's been a few minutes, hasn't it, mate?
Well, you're a bit late as well. How come you're late?
Yeah, sorry about that. I got a little bit held up at work. You know, social care is 24/7. Yeah. So, you know, what are you going to do? Oh, blimey. How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I've had a holiday. I've had a nice little 2-week break down on the south coast in Devon. Yeah, and listen, I don't want to spoil my macho image, but what we did is we got to Dawlish and we found out where the nearest Mecca bingo hall was. And it turned out it was in Exeter, which is just on the train. So we were right by the train station in Dawlish. So all we had to do is toddle off to the train station. And we got the train up to Exeter, little walk from the train station there to the Mecca bingo. So happy as Larry.
Absolute party animal of the year, you, Franklin. Yeah, goodness me.
As a newly reformed non-alcoholic person, not that I was an alcoholic, but non-alcohol person, I've not drank for 3 months.
You teetotal? Well, bloody hell.
Teetotal for 3 months?
Not bad at all, that.
Yeah. I mean, not by sort of choice, really. I mean, I went through that period with it, had a few problems, and I was on antibiotics for 6 weeks. So I stopped drinking altogether, even though my antibiotics said I could drink. Yeah. I just thought to myself, sorry, I wanted to work. Yeah. And once I got to the end of that, I thought to myself, I quite enjoy not drinking alcohol. Yeah. So right at this moment in time, I don't know whether you call me in remission.
Yeah, if you're in remission, then I'm practically in none. I've not drunk since February, mate.
Haven't you? No. I've done it before, though. I've done it 5 years. Yeah. 5 years solid.
You were 5 years sober?
5 years sober. It sounds like I'm an alcoholic.
It does sound a little bit like that, mate.
Well, you know what? Sometimes when you work out what you're drinking, you think to yourself, well, I'm drinking a little bit too much now. And I think I come back to the football and I tended to have a pint after the game, you know, just 1 pint. Yeah. And then I get home, de-stress, and I think to myself, brandy.
That's it, brandy before bed, isn't it?
Well, brandy and a piece of rope at the time because it come very close last season.
Jesus.
No, you know what I mean. I'm being over dramatic there, but listen, I've been watching the news. I've been listening to what's been going on as well. I don't know whether you watch a lot of news, but Sean Diddy. What's his name?
Coombs.
Combs. Is it Combs or Coombs?
Yeah,
it's Combs, isn't it? But he's
musician.
Yeah, he's quite a character, that man, isn't he?
I mean, that's a horrifyingly simple way of putting it. My God, from the allegations.
He's been found guilty of 2 charges.
Has he now?
The more serious charges he's got away with. Yeah. I must say got away with. I correct that.
Yeah, he's been found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty of transportation for prostitution, which I always thought was trafficking for sex.
He had quite an appetite for sex. Not that we talk about sex on this show, but it's a really, really weird one. That.
Yeah. I think the other bit of news that is quite prevalent is Harry Dunn. So Harry Dunn was that teenager that was driving a motorcycle. He was hit by a car driven on the wrong side of the road by Anne Sakulas, and then she left the country and claimed diplomatic immunity in the US, and then eventually they got her back. They extradited her to the UK and then found her guilty.
All right. When was that today?
That was 2 hours ago. The family have said that they wanted the findings from the inquiry into how the Foreign Office handled the case.
So what's likely to happen to her now? Is she going to get a custodial?
Well, I'm having a look now. So the inquiry is expected to be announced on Thursday. It's going to be chaired by the former chief of prisons. Let me see. Sakulas had diplomatic immunity asserted by the Foreign Office. God, doesn't actually say. Well, look at that.
In terms of Piddy, whatever his name is.
P. Diddy.
Yeah. Is he likely to get a custodial, or is he out? They're not sentencing yet, are they?
No, he hasn't been sentenced, but the charge does carry it. It carries a 10-year maximum prison sentence.
But he's not likely to get anywhere near that because he's never committed it.
He's not.
Or he's never been prosecuted
hasn't.
for a crime before.
This is true, yeah. The defence argues that he poses no flight risk or danger but it does recount that he left his home in Miami to travel to New York when he learned he'd be formally charged in New York. So, you know, he's played to the tune. He knew
what he was doing, didn't he?
He's played to the tune a little bit.
But he's worth a lot of money, isn't he? But I would imagine everybody's going to bite into that now.
Well, not without good reason. But he's likely to be released on bond, says a law professor, which is...
Of course, you'll all know this news because it'll be old news by the time.
It will be old news by the time, yes. Moving on to lighter matters, I got a new dog, Brody.
I was going to mention that, Brody.
Yeah, Brody is the newest.
I upset you the other day, didn't I, by suggesting that you might have named it after Richard?
After Richard Brody, the man who I met once.
Yeah. So, Richard, if you're listening, he didn't name it after Brody, but hey.
It's the different spelling.
It's still called Brody.
He is still called Brody, still making an absolute nuisance of himself. I caught him eating my breakfast this morning. I left the room for all of 5 minutes, come back, he's on the kitchen counter eating my eggs. Absolutely unbelievable. Rat bag behaviour, but he's cute, gorgeous. Absolutely brilliant little lad.
As both someone who've had pets, and in the last sort of year or so, we both lost pets as well.
Have.
It was a pretty difficult time.
It really was. Yeah, so I'm glad to have him in my life. He's absolutely wonderful. Oh God, time's getting on a bit.
What have you been watching? Have you been?
Well, to be honest, I like to rewatch stuff kind of over and over. So I just finished This Is Us, which is on Disney Plus, and it centres around a group of triplets and their father, who they were all born on the same day, and their mother, and their kind of expansive family around that. It's a really difficult one to kind of describe it because there is no overarching plot. They're not trying to get anywhere. They're not trying to do anything. It's just how they kind of navigate through life. But it's a really entertaining watch, and it's got some kind of deeply poignant moments into it. So I've been watching that, and that was kind of it, really. I don't have time to kind of watch stuff, between looking after Brody, doing my job for SCEM, and then training for an Ironman. I ain't got time to sit down and watch TV.
No, you wouldn't think so, but I have... Unfortunately, what I end up doing is losing sleep in order to watch. So I've watched 3 box sets during the...
God.
Yeah. So I've watched The City Is Ours, which I highly recommend to everyone. Absolutely fantastic acting. I think it's a Scouse. Yeah,
it's about Liverpool, right?
It's about drugs in drug gangs in Liverpool. And then I watched. Is it the second series? Oh no, it would be the first series of Mobland.
Okay.
Which is good. Helen Mirren and Piers Brosnan are in it.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
with quite dodgy Irish accents, I must say. Being 47% Irish, but they should have cast me in the lead role.
You know what's ironic is that Piers Brosnan is actually fully Irish. He was born in Ireland.
Oh, right, and they've all been mocking his accents, haven't they? Yeah.
You do not mocking an Irishman for an Irish accent. Yeah.
Have you watched The Gold?
No,
I watched the first series about a while back when that first came up, but I watched the second series, and that is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So this is the aftermath of the Brinks Mat.
Yeah, the robbery in...
this is about the sort of thorough sort of police investigation and how they caught them in the end.
Yeah.
But the first one is the actual going through the actuality of
the actual burglary itself,
the thing itself. This is the investigation afterwards, and it is fabulous.
Yeah. And I've always been quite sort of intrigued by the Brinks Mat because it was about 1965, 66, wasn't it?
No, that was the Great Train Robbery.
Well, that was 63. Well, I thought the Brinks Mat was around then.
No, was the Brinks Mat was 80s, wasn't it?
Oh, was it the 80s? Oh, pardon me. Yeah. They said that the Brinks Mat was cursed though because anyone who came into contact with that gold died or nearly died, with the exception of Kenneth Noy, but he was jailed for road rage. He killed a guy in road rage.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was during the process where they were investigating them all as well, so they got them all on technicalities, didn't they? Because I don't think they
never found the gold.
They've never retrieved the gold. And what they said, interestingly, was that the gold that you wear probably has got a bit of Brinks Mat in it.
Yeah.
I just found that really interesting. But they are 3 British dramas. So the British acting profession now is absolutely smashing.
Booming, isn't it?
Absolutely smashing.
Yeah.
But listen,
I suppose we better get on with the show, hadn't we?
Yeah, let's get on with the show.
Cool.
Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I'm Frank Hughes, the chairman of Skelmersdale United Football Club, and alongside me is my co-host and passionate press officer AJ the Jet. Not that being involved with the football club is a prerequisite for hosting a football podcast, but it certainly helps. We are ready to dive headfirst into the vibrant world of non-league football in the North West, and we might even take a moment to discuss some of the bigger headlines in the sport. We'll explore life in the Northwest counties, bring you interviews with well-known faces in the league, and analyse how local teams are performing while making bold predictions for their upcoming matches. Nothing is off the limits here. We'll be diving into all kinds of topics, including complicated refereeing decisions and regulations that often leave fans perplexed. We want to hear from you too. This is your show, so don't hesitate to reach out with topics you want us to tackle. Let's get this conversation started and enjoy every single moment. We are speaking frankly. Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Speaking Frankly Football Show and Episode 1. Listen, a warm welcome to everybody for this very first episode. We're looking forward to the show. AJ, introducing the dulcet tones of AJ. How are you doing, mate?
Hello, Frank. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm glad to be back here. I've dusted off the cobwebs on the podcast chair, swallowed a bit of lemon and honey drink to get the vocal cords all warmed up, ready for Season 2, Episode 1
and what have we got on the show?
Speaking Frankly Football Show. Well, I'll tell you, Frank, if you hold your horses. So, we are going to be talking about the demise of Widnes and Farsley Celtic, the shock announcement that Robbie Savage has left Macclesfield Town. We're also going to be checking in on Dorking Wanderers, as well as Morecambe FC. Part 2, we have our special guest on the show, which is Gary Berwick, the General Secretary of the Liverpool Counties Premier League. And then in Part 3, we will be discussing all things Skelmersdale United. But first
of all, we'd like to extend our heartfelt condolences to Chris Wright, his family and everyone at Ashton Town following the tragic death of Chris's wife, Deborah. Our thoughts are with you all as you navigate this profound loss. Rest in peace, Deborah. Moving on to England under-21s. Congratulations to England under-21s following their triumphant 3-2 win in the final of the Euros against Germany. Lee Carsley once again led them to back-to-back championship wins. Did you watch the final?
No, I missed it, unfortunately. I don't tend to follow England that much, being a fan of Wales as far as national allegiance is concerned.
Heard something new about you
today.
Yeah.
When it comes to national allegiance, it's Wales for me.
I've got a bit of Welsh in me as well as Irish.
Oh, have you now? Honestly, have you been on This Is Your Life yet, Frank?
No, I'm waiting for me off.
Still waiting.
Going? Oh, you shouldn't know about This Is Your Life.
Because I know This Is My Life. Come on, everybody waiting to see if that 1% Jamaican has come through yet for either of us.
1% Maltese. But listen, I watched the extra time bit. I couldn't watch the rest of it. But 8 months ago, Lee Carsley's reputation took a big hit. He had that sort of interim period where he was looking after the first team, and then it all went he was doing really well. I think he won 5 of his first 6 games, and then he went and played. Was it Greece?
Yes, it was Greece. Yeah,
and then that scuppered his chances of taking on the full-time role. But credit to the man, because he actually took a big risk and he was prepared to do it. Yeah. I think on a bigger stage, it's unfortunate you can't really get away with that. But then he took a few risks in the Euro finals himself, and they lost against Germany. in the qualifying rounds, and then he's managed to turn it around, and they've won it.
Yeah.
So the man must be doing something right. It begs the question: Are they getting the right opportunity? Because already now, the first team manager Tuchel, is it?
Thomas Tuchel, yeah, he's not quite got there yet, has he? No. But I mean, you show me a manager that ever kind of hit the ground running with the England team and then kept that train going.
Who would you say ever did? I mean, Terry Venables. He seemed to be a very, very popular manager, didn't he? I think his affable sort of character got him away with the odd.
I would have said Bobby Robson. I would have said Bobby
Robson. But originally he didn't. I mean,
he
got that. Mind you, there was also Graham Taylor as well, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, Graham Taylor in the 2000s era as well. I mean, Sven, to his credit, he was never terrible. He was just underperforming, I suppose. Yeah. So I think it's a horrible job. Horrible. Being England manager is probably the most difficult job in world football, alongside being the Real Madrid manager and the Manchester United manager.
So who takes the England job now? We obviously know Tuchel's there now, but what kind of character takes that kind of job now? Are they desperate to get back involved with football? You'd never see a top class coach now leaving, say, Manchester City or Liverpool or Everton. If Everton would, I'm an Evertonian, you can tell.
Yes.
I'm assuming they're going to be really, really good now that they're in the new stadium. But what I'm sort of alluding to is the top teams in the Premiership and even further abroad. They're not going to come and join England and become the manager, are they?
No, it's quite rare that you see that. I think Fabio Capello was the last one who, switched a big team to go to take the England job, and that was in 2008. And I think he'd been at Juventus and Real Madrid. He'd done really well with both of them, and that was his first foray into national management. But again, he was another one who never got off the ground with the England team. So I suppose you've got to really look at somebody who's got their established way of wanting to play, but then also understands the kind of current crop of England players who are capable of playing for the national team, now and into the future. Somebody who can, recognise the talent of, your Jude Bellingham or your Morgan Rogers.
Didn't you feel as though Gareth Southgate was doing that in essence? He was bringing he was trying out a lot of players, wasn't he?
He was trying out a lot of players, and I think he made some really good discoveries, along the way. I think, to his discredit though, and I think that this was something what kind of dogged him in his last tournament, was that he was accused of playing way too defensive for the kind of attacking prowess that England have, and enlightened in that is Bellingham, Harry Kane. Who else are we looking at as far as England's attacks? Jack Grealish, who I know kind of featured on the fringes. Phil Foden. These players, and he had to try and fit them all in the kind of formation that would allow them all to play to their strengths.
They all have the same difficulty, though, don't they? I mean, back in the day when there was, Gerrard, Lampard, and who was the other one? Scholes. They all had the same problem.
They
with
did
that
all
midfield,
have the same
didn't
problem, yeah. And Ericsson addressed that by putting Scholes on the left of midfield, and it never really worked. And so he retired in about 2006, 2005, something like that.
But it's said quite often now, isn't it, that players are getting in the England team, staying in the England team purely on popularity rather than form. And I think they've somehow, listen, anyway, that's for another argument. They've got to learn to correct that. But congratulations to England under-21s.
And Lee Carsley.
Yeah, and Lee Carsley. The Lionesses start their Euro Championship campaign soon. I don't know when it is.
They do. I think it's in about...
They're playing some friendlies now,
I think it's about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, good luck to them.
Very much so.
It is the Euros, isn't it? It's not the World, is it?
It's the Euros, because England are the holders, aren't they?
Good luck to them anyway. But listen, we get closer to home and with sadness, really, announcing the Widnes after the fantastic season that they had. last season winning the
they won the Northern Premier League West, didn't they? They won the title, and then obviously were promoted into the Northern Premier League proper, and then have decided and made the announcement on Sunday that they are pulling their men's first team from all competitions, effective immediately, citing a disturbing lack of support from the local authority. Now, the decision sent ripples through the footballing community in senior football in the town, left reeling from the announcement that they won't be competing this season, and a lot of sharp criticism being directed at Halton Borough Council, who have been accused of showing a lack of will and support.
Listen, we already knew that Michael Ellison and several key players had already left because one or two stakeholders had withdrawn their financial support, so we knew it was going to be a difficult season for them. We've spoken to people. I've been in contact with Ian Ross. Hopefully the chairman, he might come on the show when the dust settles a little bit. But looking at do you want to read the witness statement?
Yes.
It's really tinged with sadness, this, and we'll come to this because there's another club as well, Farsley Celtic, which we'll come on to. And here, by the grace of God, go all. But if you mention the statement.
In full, It is with great sadness that Widnes Football Club has decided to withdraw its men's first team from all competitions with immediate effect. The club has been funded by shareholders over the years with the aim of one day owning and operating our own ground, creating a sustainable working model not reliant on any group or individuals. We recently withdrew our application for the council-owned corporation club that we had agreed a 36-year lease with, due to lack of support from Halton Borough Council to overcome parking issues at the site. The club engaged with the council when the ground move was obviously in jeopardy. The council CEO responded with the offer of pulling together a meeting which never materialised. The club did, however, meet with the council executive officers and laid out short-term and long-term needs. We felt at that meeting that we had made headway. Since then, the club has only received contact to confirm what we had discussed during our meeting. The club pressed for an update and then again for a further update with a deadline set for a response as footballing dates approached. No response was received, nor even acknowledged. It's not lost on us that the new Runcorn MP visited her local club, calling it a jewel in the crown of their community, while we couldn't even get an email reply or a simple congratulations as Northern Premier League West champions from anyone at the Borough Council or our local MP. We just didn't matter enough. We recently secured the future of our junior section, arranging for them to become Widnes FC juniors under their own affiliation so that today's news didn't affect their football. The club offers our deepest apologies to our fans that we couldn't deliver what we set out to do, despite our very best efforts. We would also like to thank our committee, players and staff for their professionalism over the last few testing weeks and for standing by us while we try to work through the issues. Stephen Irwin and Sean Miller together deserve special praise for working non-stop in a bid to start the season while accepting there weren't any guarantees that we ever could. We would finally like to say a massive thanks to the committee at the Northern Premier League for all their help and support over the last 7 years. To all our members and fans, thank you. Keep supporting non-league. It's a very sad day for us all at the club, and we really do hope you keep your fires burning. That is really sad.
Yeah.
That's you can tell that whoever wrote that was, overcome, with the emotion and the sadness of the reality of what it was that they were writing. That is not a professional, by the books statement. That is truly, properly from a broken heart, and that's gutting.
Listen, there was controversial issues surrounding the Widnes Academy prior to this happening, and they've obviously managed to sort that out. Ian Ross was quite vocal about the fallout. They appeared to resolve that particular issue, only for the mother of all explosions to blindside us all. But from a financial perspective, we mentioned that stakeholders have pulled out, but the Widnes, the council are charging £2,000 a game. I believe that goes up to 3,000 on bank holidays.
Yeah.
It was increasingly unsustainable from a financial perspective.
It's a massively unsustainable one from a financial perspective, and even given having the stakeholders being there, putting money into a club that was, churning out some good attendances, but the stadium that they were at also plays host to Widnes Vikings Rugby League Club, and has a quite an enormous attendance, and it's a big facility to operate and to run on a match day. So it was going to always be a huge kind of weight to carry. I didn't think, though, that anything would kind of turn around this quickly, though, in terms of them announcing that they've withdrawn from...
there was a feeling.
Was there a feeling?
Yeah, there was a feeling that news was sort of going round, that, there was a possibility that they'd withdraw. I don't know at which stage that decided to do it, but listen, they were obviously trying to get their own roots in Widnes and establish their own stadium somewhere.
As we can tell you, that is very much easier said than done.
Far much easier said than done, but you do have to then question whether the Widnes Council, County Council, whatever they are, whether they've they've helped, whether they've offered to reduce the cost of the rental for the stadium, which could have helped. I don't know, but listen, we're hoping to get Ian Ross on at some stage and give us a little bit more in-depth knowledge to what's happened there. But hopefully, they might just be dormant. I mean, for now, I think it happened to Droylsden a few seasons ago. They withdrew and reset and came back stronger.
Yeah, Macclesfield and Bury, also high-profile names that have dropped down through the divisions to start again.
I think it'll be more difficult for Widnes just purely based on the fan base. The fan base is not huge.
It's not, but you would hope that they would be fervent and loyal. I can't see any of them turning out to support Runcorn Linnets anytime soon. I don't see that happening.
Rivalry-wise, no.
Rivalry-wise, yeah. It's like you going out to support Liverpool and pulling on the red shirt, even though you sort of bleed toffee blue.
Come and watch Skem next season, by all means, while we're at the Marine Travel Arena Stadium.
Well, there is that, yeah.
Yeah, come and watch us for the time being until you reset and you come back again. So listen, best of luck. I hope something good comes out of what is a really, really bad story. Yeah. But listen, Farsley Celtic, we've featured them on the show so many times, and then when it looked as though... we had Paul Barthorpe on the show, and he was very open and honest. So we have 100%. To take his word for what he said.
Yeah, we were one of the only podcasts to be able to pull Paul Barthorpe on the show, and I think it became one of our biggest rated shows in terms of listenership.
It's massive even now. It still attracts new listeners all the time.
Stunning.
I think we have probably about 4 or 5 different listeners every day coming on to listen to that story.
Why on earth?
And they'll probably start listening to it again now because of what's happened. But it looked as though matters have been resolved. They obviously Paul Barthorpe steps down.
Yes.
Seemingly, or what people judged was that the people that were running the football club were friends of his, so there was no... The feeling was that the issues weren't resolved and it was still his stadium. So then David Stockdale becomes the manager and then eventually agrees a deal to take over.
And buy the club, yeah.
And that's all gone through as far as we know, hasn't it?
It absolutely has, yeah, but times have taken a very difficult turn for Farsley Celtic. So last season they were relegated from the National League North, was it?
Yeah.
National League North, yeah, which is the fourth, about the sixth or seventh division in the Football League circuit. What has then happened is they have voluntarily stepped away from there and been reinserted into the Northern Counties East Premier Division. which is 2 divisions below them, the National League North, in the midst of the club losing its licence to compete in steps 1 to 4 of the pyramid.
Listen, just to backtrack a little bit there, the deal hasn't gone through just yet, and that might be...
With Stockdale?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so it's still progressing, but he's nonetheless, I think last we heard he was committed to rejuvenating Farsley Celtic as much as he could. However, the club now looks likely to be stepping away from first team football completely. So in a statement, the club has said the decision has not been taken lightly and comes as part of a wider strategic review of the club structure amid ongoing developments regarding a proposed takeover. Given the current situation and the transitional period we are entering, it's been determined that stepping back from Northern Counties East League competition is the most appropriate course of action at this time. All relevant stakeholders have been fully consulted throughout the process, and their views have been considered carefully in reaching this outcome. There appears to be a light at the end of the tunnel, but the way we are talking, until this takeover is ratified, then you have to question when and how they will return to competing. I wonder whether, given that they couldn't manage it at Northern Counties East, whether they'd have to go to amateur football. What do you think?
Well, that's a good one, because I was going to mention that sometimes, and I wonder if Skem had have stepped out of the North West Counties Division 1 North last season mid-flow and said we can't compete, would they have been able to come up with a plan to gain promotion into the North West Counties as the likes of Bury and other clubs have done it? And I think that's where the balance is probably not fair. Because if you're a Bury or you're a AFC Halifax, no disrespect to them, because listen, they know Bury, we absolutely love them.
We do.
But in terms of their sort of pull,
their capacity to draw in,
their capacity, then you can't really expect them to be supporting their football club around a community hub sports field. So from a safety point of view, they get a sort of lift up the ladder. So I don't know whether it's easier for them to step out of it now and, like they say, make sure that everything's set and prepared for the future, and then reapply for the Northern Counties East directly once hopefully they've got everything resolved before the 31st of March when you'd apply for you'd assumingly apply for the for reinstatement into the Northern Counties East. Yeah. Oh, listen. And it just shows you, doesn't it, how live this show is. My printer has just started. you couldn't write this, could you?
Cutting edge, so we are. Is that a fax?
It's not a fax, no.
Okay, so we are in the 2020s.
Oh, yeah, listen, sorry about that, but these things happen in these podcast studios. Where were we?
We were
before that's so rudely interrupted.
Well, we just, I think we'd sort of finished talking about Farsley Celtic, really.
Listen, best of luck to them, but
we certainly had.
Once again, we can only reiterate the fact that we look at those two particular clubs and what's been going on with Skem in recent years, and we have the greatest of sympathies for them.
We absolutely do.
But listen, we're going to mention another club before. I think we should switch this one before we go to Macclesfield.
All right.
Morecambe could be the next victims, couldn't they?
Yeah, they might well be.
Nobody seems to have taken any notice of this until the last 24 hours when it's become crucial, because what's happened is there was a potential takeover. It's not, they've been given the ultimatum today that it needed to be done, otherwise they would be informing the administrators, calling them in and getting them to sort the club out. So I don't know at this point, we'll probably know more by the time this show comes out, whether Morecambe have got their together.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really difficult situation for all concerned with Morecambe Football Club, as their kind of existence at the professional level kind of teeters on a bit of a knife edge, really. They were trying to get a takeover completed, but it's the board of directors have issued a statement the other day, and it says, following further discussion with Jason Whittingham this afternoon, Jason Whittingham being the chair of the Bond Group Investments, it is apparent to the board of directors that he is, for some reason, stalling for time and attempting to drag out what is a truly horrible situation and decision for as long as possible. We must emphasise that this is without providing the board with any substantive or convincing reason for us to responsibly delay triggering the administration process. The board of directors have, this evening, informed Jason that administrators will be called at the earliest opportunity tomorrow morning. Jason still has the chance to do the right thing, agree to sell his shares tomorrow morning, but that opportunity expires once and for all after that. So a very straight and to the point statement made by Rod Taylor on behalf of the Morecambe Football Club Board of Directors. That being said, a statement was issued by Jason Whittingham just afterwards, and I'll read that to you. There is no doubt that the club is in a precarious position and is at crisis point. We appreciate the stress this is causing for all connected with Morecambe FC. As majority shareholder, we are making every effort to resolve any issues that have arisen and are working to protect the best interests of the club. Bond Group Investments has started the process to dismiss the board of directors with immediate effect in order that we can take control over the situation, giving us the required additional time to ensure that the club has the best chance to avoid administration. We hope the board of directors put the interest of the club before any personal grievances, and during this delicate time of negotiation to save the club, refrain from their propensity of issuing negative comments. The notion that Bond Group Investments is stalling is not true. Bond Group Investments need to ensure that any transfer of shares in a sale is done in a way that holds no recourse for either the club or Bond Group. The safety of the club's future is paramount. Our focus today is to work to find solutions to resolve the matter of staff salary and the sale of the club to avoid administration at all costs. The staff, players and management team at the club have all been notified, as have the National League. We will be communicating with the Supporters Trust. We're deeply sorry for the distress and uncertainty this is causing. Our next communication will be tomorrow morning to confirm the outcome.
Yeah, it's another case of mismanagement at the sort of higher levels of non-league football, and they've had the problems historically, haven't they, Morecambe? It's not the first time they've been in these difficulties, and then of course they managed to build this magnificent stadium, and I believe Tyson Fury's gym is in one of the stands, underneath one of the stands. I might be wrong on that, but
you would certainly hope that a man of his monies would invest within the local community and the local football club. He's often seen running along the promenade, in training for his fights. Yeah. So you'd hope that he'd sort of become more part of the community. That being said, I think this is really irresponsible from both Bond Group Investments and by Morecambe FC to make this more of finger-pointing exercises than actually getting that. You would hope that the only statement that would be issued at this time would be the one to determine the outcome of Morecambe FC, whether the shares have been sold, whether the administration team has been called in, to kind of resolve this uncertainty. But to kind of just engage in a finger-pointing situation, it's not helpful to anybody, and I think it only serves to anger the Supporters Trust and the fan base themselves into actually, objecting to both their courses of action as just being flippant and irresponsible. And you would hope very much that sooner rather than later the future of Morecambe Football Club is secured and they're able to continue playing.
And if they do, they'll be playing in the National League Premier Division next season, won't they?
Yeah, they. I think they were they relegated.
They finished bottom of the League Two.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I was thinking Carlisle, but they finished second bottom. So Morecambe have got a bit of a rebuilding job to do and a kind of a new chapter on their horizons, and we hope very much that they are there to do it.
Yeah, listen, we can't afford 3 clubs to go out of business, can we, at the same time?
No, that's just wholeheartedly depressing.
And I've not looked right through the country. There might even be other teams.
Well, there might be. Yeah, we're only kind of thinking on a
terrible cough.
We're only kind of thinking on a northern basis here because most of our fan base is within the north. But I'm sure this must be happening to clubs in the south as well.
Yeah. Listen, moving on to Macclesfield. I mean, there was rumblings that Robbie Savage was leaving the football club to take up the managerial post at Forest Green Rovers. It's been confirmed now.
Yes.
It's fair to say it's not taking the club completely by surprise, including their chairman, Rob Smethurst. He appears not only to be upset, but a bit disappointed. On the face of things, a rather bizarre decision by Robbie after a record-breaking season in the Northern Premier League where they won the title by an amazing 26 points gap to gain promotion to the National League North. But when you actually break it down and you look at it, you soon realise that Robbie's worked for the club for 4 years. He's gone on record as saying and not took a penny. Because he realised how much his mate Rob was investing into the football club. And what he's done over the years is he's invested all his energy and time into the football club, as he says, and he's put Macc above his family at times. And what he said now is it's time to put himself and his family above everything else. In many ways, a heartbreaking divorce between the two Robs, Rob and Robbie. They're both clearly gutted at the way it's had to end.
Yeah.
So I was shocked initially until I listened to what Robbie Savage had to say. And listen, we know how it is when you invest all your time and effort into a football club, how stressful that can be.
Yeah.
And he's actually, football by and large is a stressful game, but when you're actually, he was the sort of the focal point, the glamour.
Yeah, he
very
was.
much of Macclesfield, and from a social media point of view, he's galvanised that club as much as the chairman has. He's put a name and a voice and attracted an awful lot of sponsorship. So it's going to be a difficult one for them. I can't imagine what people will be thinking. He'll have his critics. He's already admitted that, but he's done a remarkable job with them. So in many ways, he needs to be praised. And people are going to have to move on. What I found really strange was that they've appointed John Rooney, the brother of Wayne, as their manager. Now he's just played his final season with Macc, and he's decided to retire. And Rob feels it's a natural progression for him, and he wants to keep it in the family, so to speak. So he's been there at the club. He knows how it works and it operates. So it might be a good thing. But what was your view on leaving?
To be honest, I can kind of understand it. So if you kind of break it, so obviously Macclesfield are on this kind of amazing upward curve and on a really, really good journey. And I think all Robbie Savage has done by being at the helm of this club is enhance his capabilities as a manager within, that realm. And I think he wants to, go on to bigger and better things for himself. Having dedicated 4 years of his time to Macclesfield and, re-galvanising the club, as you say, putting a prospect to their name, bringing in a load of sponsors, having a really nice stadium to play in as well. He's done so much for this club, and he's finished on this really good high. And it's not even the case that he feels like he could, he can't take the club any further. But Robbie Savage is looking at Robbie Savage right now. He's not looking at Macclesfield. Forest Green Rovers were playing in League One about 3 years ago.
Back-to-back relegations?
Back-to-back relegations, yeah, unfortunately. And they finished in the National League. They finished third. Okay, so they were within the playoffs. And didn't get there, unfortunately. But it does show that they are, on that outer reaches of the Football League circuit, the Football League proper, which, as any manager will tell you, is exactly where they want to be. You want to take your own capabilities as high as what you can. And I think Robbie feels this is a natural progression for himself to go from a club that's sitting in the midst of the non-league pyramid. He's taken them, higher and further. And now he himself wants to take himself higher and further with another club. Dale Vince, the chairman at Forest Green Rovers, obviously a really respected chairman that has done an awful lot for Forest Green, done an awful lot for environmental awareness within football. It's a really good kind of outlet and source for any manager to kind of cut his teeth.
Well, they're given a chance, aren't they, to manage high-profile figures.
Yeah.
I think Duncan Ferguson
had the role at Forest Green for a while. It didn't work out for him, unfortunately, and that's kind of disappointing when you consider how well he'd done in the interim at Everton, at your club. But
it shows you how difficult it is for a high-profile figure to actually get a job in the Football League, because I think Rob Smethurst has sort of alluded towards the fact that he wasn't really expecting him. They were expecting him to go to a higher level, not quite yet, and not quite Forest Green Rovers, because they feel as though they're going to surpass them in the next couple of years. And you would have to say, based on their average attendance, which is going to go up year in, year out now as they progress, then they are a far bigger club than Forest Green.
They're a far bigger club on the surface, and I think given their history as well, you'd have to say that they're a bigger club. But the way of it is, it's in these current times, Forest Green are the bigger club. Forest Green were playing in the Football League more recently. Forest Green have attracted more headlines for the green way in which they've operated football, for the fact that they brought in a woman as their caretaker manager in 2023, Hannah Dingley. For the way that Forest Green just seem to do things differently. Okay, and they gave chances to Duncan Ferguson and Troy Deeney to manage their football clubs, and it didn't quite work out. And now they're giving a chance to Robbie Savage, who is, by all accounts, a bit more of an assured appointment than Troy Deeney was, and David Horseman was. David Horseman managed the club between Hannah Dingley and Troy Deeney. So there are methods and reasons why Forest Green's appointment of Robbie Savage works out and makes sense, and equally why Robbie Savage going to Forest Green makes sense too. They are the bigger club right now, and they have more of an opportunity to get into the Football League again. And Robbie Savage being at the helm, you'd want to be there, wouldn't you? You'd want to be part of something really amazing, and part of a promotion winning.
Well, he was part of an amazing journey. Listen, it's already been said he took 3 players with him already, and as alluded in Rob Smethurst's interview, he said there was players there with get-out clauses in their contracts. Makes you wonder whether Robbie had already had that included in his own contract, but then did he get paid in his last year? He's 5 years at the club, so he was there for a year before the sort of the rebirth of I've forgotten the name of the club now.
Macclesfield.
Yeah, before the rebirth of Macclesfield.
Yeah.
So they spent that year there. Then there was the COVID, wasn't there?
Yes.
And then they've spent 4 years, but he's not always been the manager, has he?
No, I think he came in. Did he come in as not chairman? He came in
some kind of vice chairman capacity.
Board of directors,
Director
investors,
of
kind of thingy-mabob. And then sort of found his way into the manager's hot seat. And it's worked out well for him. He's done really well. Nobody can deny that. But from a kind of present perspective, Forest Green's the bigger club.
Listen, I can understand it. If he's not getting paid or he's getting paid very little and he's running out of money. Listen, Robbie Savage has not been earning the kind of money Wayne Rooney's been earning in his career. So you can imagine why he might feel as though he has to leave at this time. The pressure in itself, I can understand that and get it.
Yeah.
But my last question to you is, will the club lose its appeal now that Robbie's gone?
In there. Yeah, I think it will. If you look back at, and I'll use this this theory, Notts County. So when Notts County brought in Sven-Göran Eriksson as manager and Sol Campbell joined the club, I think who else joined the club on as a big player? There were some big names what joined Notts County in about 2012.
I remember the story, but you, like you say, going back a bit, my judgment on that is a little bit blurry. But I'm assuming you're alluding to the fact that they sort of plummeted after they left.
They absolutely did, yeah. So they had some sort of massive big Kasper Schmeichel. That was the name I was thinking of. I was thinking Joe Hart initially, but he was there initially. But there were so many big names that joined, but then the money's kind of dropped off a cliff, and Notts County plummeted. And I think that may very well be the case with Macclesfield. Now they've got to rebuild, and John Rooney himself has got a bit of a rebuild job on his hands. And that this may only be the start, depending on which players go with Robbie to Forest Green, or who find more enticing clubs to play for higher up the non-league circuit. Bearing in mind as well, there's 2 divisions difference now?
No, there's only one. That's what I'm saying. See the decision there. They ran away with the league last season. They prepared really well. They brought some good signings in. Yeah. I mean, I wonder whether there's been a little bit of a fallout now between the two Robs.
I don't think there has been, but I think if you look at the standard in the National League North as well, I mean, how many teams were fighting for promotion on that last day? Scunthorpe ended up going through the playoffs, but that left behind players like Chorley, Chester. The team that finished second or third, they didn't end up going up either. There was a bit of a 3-way tie on the last game of the season. So many teams in that National League North circuit that I think show that there's a bit of a gap between the National League North and the Northern Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think we may well see that coming into reality with Macclesfield.
Yeah, listen, I think we'll hear more about that story as the weeks go by. But listen, best of luck to. I mean, listen, they're a success story. So after commiserating with 3 teams, that's a bit of a happier story. But obviously not with a happy ending.
Yeah.
But listen, story that you picked up on Dorking Wanderers. We've mentioned them quite often. We're going really south there. We're going deep south. So go on, what did you pick up on?
So Dorking Wanderers owner and manager Mark White has been given a 6-match touchline ban for a comment he made on a podcast about women. White has been given the punishment for a remark he made before his side's 3-1 defeat against Weston-super-Mare last season. Speaking to the Under the Cosh podcast before the fixture, in reference to his disciplinary record, he said, "More women refs now are ones that you have to deal with, so you have to pay a bit more respect. You have to pay a bit more respect, like helping them park." The Football Association charged White in May with using insulting or abusive words in the interview, describing it as an aggravated breach of the rules due to the reference containing gender. White will now be banned from the touchline for the first 6 matches of Dorking's National League South season. The club said, following, in brackets, intended fun, comments made on a podcast regarding women drivers, Mark White has received a 6-game touchline ban to be served from the beginning of the league season. That's just bloody stupid, that. And It's stupid from White's point of view, really. I know he's an abrasive figure, and I know he's, recognisable and has a loud and controversial character, and, that's all part of his persona and what have you. But you just can't make those remarks, without there being bite back.
I agree with you. There's a rule in place.
Yeah.
And they say that there's an aggravated breach of it. So, yeah, fair dues. But in terms of a comedian making the same joke on the TV, won't get banned from TV.
Well, no, but you expect a comedian to kind of have that within his remit. I mean, there are comedians make racist jokes. Roy Chubby Brown still does it to this day. There are, people who make jokes about all manner of things that in normal society would be considered taboo. But that's comedy. Mark White is not a comedian. Mark White has a responsibility on his hands to be, to manage.
But is he still on duty though? Because he's on the Under the Cosh podcast.
He's on the Under the Cosh podcast as a representative of Dorking Wanderers.
But is his character not taking over now? Is Mark not a bigger figure than the actual football club now due to his programme, his YouTube documentaries?
He might well be, but he's still associated with Dorking Wanderers, and Dorking Wanderers is still associated with the FA and the league. And he still has to bear that in mind when he goes anywhere. I mean, you still have a responsibility as chairman of Skelmersdale United, regardless of where you go or what you do. If you were arrested for throwing a sun lounger at a woman on a hotel in Ibiza, which is something...
that's another controversial issue altogether.
That's something that a footballer...
That's ridiculous. Now, I'd like to see what kind of ban that serves up.
We'll bring that in next week's podcast. But Mark White and Dorking Wanderers are kind of symbiotic. They go together. Where you've got Mark White, you've got Dorking Wanderers, regardless of how he behaves and what he says. And to be honest, this kind of whole notion of using... of taunting women on how they park, that's just such a dated joke, and it's utterly stupid, and he's got to come up with some more material that's worth the 6-match ban, because that was just crap. And I think women will kind of look down their noses at him and laugh and say, is that the best you've got?
So you reckon the severity of the punishment is ridiculous?
No. And I'll tell you for why. Football has been taking pains to be as inclusive as what it possibly can. So we take the knee in regards to racism. We have the shoelaces campaign for the LGBT community. We have players going out and visiting hospitals and visiting children who've got disabilities and things like that. We're trying to be as open as and inclusive a sport as what we possibly can do. We've got women who are refereeing and running the line and being pundits and being managers and what have you. Women are increasingly becoming more prevalent in men's football. And, for him to kind of do that is just kind of representative of a very decadent character, and I think the Football Association have to be shown to be making an example out of him. Exactly the same way as if an abrasive figure like Joey Barton were to say the same thing. It'd be no different.
Do they not put him on some kind of course?
You would... Well, I mean... Do you really need a course in how to treat the opposite gender equally?
I think some people do, obviously, don't they? Because you hope that he won't make the same mistake twice. But listening to or reading what I've read, he's, according to his Under the Cosh interview, he's claimed he's been banned from 12 stadiums. I don't know what that is for. Is that as a direct result of what he said? Or?
No, that won't be since. That'll be because of his combustible attitude on the touchline, I should think. Yeah, that has nothing to do with what he's just said on the Under the Cosh interview. I think that's just as representative of who he is and how he acts on game day. So he's got to do the time if he's going to do that kind of crime.
Listen, totally agree with you. It's bang out of order. He should know better.
Yeah.
But how do you rehabilitate these people, these idiots? Can you rehabilitate them, or will they carry on making the same mistakes all the time? I don't know.
Maybe talk to his wife. That'd be a good start.
Yeah.
Egypt.
Yeah. Listen, anyway, Dorking finished 6th in the National League last season and lost 4-3 to Boreham Wood in the playoffs.
Yes, so they'll be looking to kind of make that run to the National League South playoffs or automatic promotions again this year.
But they'll have to do without him for the first six matches.
Well, maybe they'll get a bit of peace and quiet on the pitch. You never know.
Yeah. Listen, that rounds up the first part of the show.
Yeah.
In part two, we'll be speaking to Gary Berwick, who is the General Secretary of the Liverpool County Premier League. Don't go away. We've got a short interval while the adverts take place, and then we'll see you after that. Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club, Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles and the lottery bonus ball scheme. And, of course, the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Bergquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the second part of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and a warm welcome to Gary Berwick, who's the General Manager of the Liverpool County Premier League. Hi Gary, thanks for coming on the show.
All right. I think General Manager, Frank, probably a couple of stations above where I am. I'm actually the league secretary.
Oh, listen, I'll tell you what, I just realised that when I said it. I don't know whether to cut that and start again or just add to the flavour. No, we'll add to the flavour.
No, you're all right. It adds to this video, and I'm quite happy with the phrase General Manager. I'm not sure the chairman will be very happy.
Apologies. I don't even know why I said that, because I've got the script there, and it does say General Secretary, but listen...
We had the full first series to get these mistakes out of the system.
We like to elevate people's positions anyway, so listen.
I'm impressed, Frank. I'm sitting upright on the couch here now.
Good. Listen, before we continue and get to the nitty gritty, tell me a little bit more about Gary Berwick and how your journey started in football.
Oh, blimey, now I've got to go back a good 40 years, Frank, to be honest with you. I started, first of all, I'm a Liverpool season ticket holder and have been since 1976. However, that seemed to grip me about football. So where we used to work, I used to work for printers in Bootle, in just outside Liverpool, as you probably know. And they wanted to run a factory team. It was then in the Liverpool Business House. Used to operate a midweek league. So we joined the midweek league because it was like basically all factories playing each other. And I became the secretary because nobody else would do it. So we got going and we lasted for about 5 seasons, and then everybody just got a bit old and we didn't really replace. And unfortunately, we were in the middle of the 1980s depression, and I won't go into politics and everything else, but nobody was getting recruited into the industry at the time. So the football team just collapsed. But Harry Rimmer, who was then the chairman of the business houses, I always remember him saying with his big, deep voice, he said to me, "If you think you're packing in, Berwick, you're joking. You're becoming a referee." So I ended up taking the course and passing refereeing, and I loved it ever since, and started refereeing about 1988, I think. And I've been refereeing ever since, and from there it's just progressed itself, to be honest with you, Frank. I then joined the Business Houses Committee because they obviously wanted me to do something and put something back, which I was happy to do. And then I left the Business Houses Committee because I'm not saying I fell out with them, but I just decided that, that I didn't want to do that anymore. Give it all up, just carried on refereeing. And then what happened was the referee secretary of that then Zingari League unfortunately passed away, and so the referees, being the referee, said to me, "Well, you'll have to take that over." So I took it over in 1998 and carried on till the merger with the Liverpool County combination in 2016, and the two committees agreed that I should carry on being the referee secretary, and that was the case I got fixtures added to the referee secretary about 2009. And then I think, as I put in the brief email or WhatsApp to you, Frank, a 3 seasons ago, unfortunately, Ian Munro, who was the league secretary from its inception of the merger of the two leagues, unfortunately got a quite debilitating disease and had to step back. So it just coincided with me retiring from the council, COVID 2020. So they asked me to take it over as an interim measure, and the interim measure is 5 years later. Here I am.
And you touched on it there about your referee, and how important has that sort of featured in your position as the general secretary of the league in terms of discipline?
Blimey, that's an interesting point. We have a separate discipline committee who's chaired by, and the chair happens to be the chair of the league. It was Pat Farrell. It's now Steve Goodall. Pat stepped aside a couple of months ago. So my role in that as a discipline is just to take the minutes of the meetings and clubs that come before us. The league has a very, very, I'd like to think, a very strong discipline committee. We operate a point system similar to the county FA, and when clubs breach what's called 25 disciplinary points, the disciplinary points are allocated by the county FA when an offence takes place. So if you get a yellow card, Frank, I think you get 1. If you get a red card for denying a goal score an opportunity, dog zone known to locally, that's 3 points, and then it goes up to violent conduct. That can be anything from 6 to 20 points, and then there's all the other infringements, failing to control the line, mass pitch invasion, so on and so forth, up to and including assaults on referees. And they all add up in points. The FA has a structure of the number of points that can be issued by discipline committees. But once it reaches 25, each club has to appear before the league discipline committee to explain itself. The usual outcome once they get to 25 is they get a verbal warning. For those who do it season on season, there tends to be a financial fine that goes with that to start with. And recently the discipline committee bylaws have been tightened up, primarily around technical areas and dugouts, to be honest with you, where there are now tighter rules on numbers in technical areas and breaches of technical areas.
Is it a little bit more difficult in the Liverpool County Premier League because a lot of the stadiums are easier to access, aren't they, than some of the non-league grounds, say in Step 6 and above?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Frank. What we do have, however, and it's really only really come into play in the last 2 or 3 seasons, each pitch that you play on next season will have to have a fixed barrier around it. They have to have technical areas and dugouts, preferably if it's on a hub site, away from the spectators on the other side of the pitch. And with at least, although we can't always insist on it, at least 3 metres between both technical areas to try and reduce the amount of interaction between the two technical areas. I'm sure, you know as well as I do, things can get quite heated at times between the participants in the technical areas. So we try and, if we have any say at all in certain areas, insist that there's a minimum of 3 metres and preferably 5 metres between the technical areas to reduce that chance. I have to say we're still having problems with the numbers in the technical areas. As you probably know, I would imagine similar to the Northwest Counties, our substitutes to 5 from 7, and the maximum we allow is 10. So that allows for a manager, assistant manager, or a manager, a coach, and a first aider, effectively, in the technical areas. Unfortunately, I'll be as honest as I can, sometimes we have anything up to 15, but that is a problem for us. But in some respects, it's not really well enforced by the referees, although we're sending something to the FA in the next couple of weeks to the technical area, well, like laws or bylaws, for the want of a better word, which we're going to send to the FA, and hopefully they'll send them to all the match officials, saying don't start the game unless all these procedures are carried out.
There's actually less people in the dugouts permitted in the dugouts in the Northwest Counties. I think is is it 7 or 8? I'm not too sure. Now you've 5 substitutes, and you've got your assistant manager, your manager, and your physio.
First aider. So that would be 8
8.
overall.
I think we're limited to 8, so 10 in the Liverpool County Prem, who's pretty good.
Now, Gary, in terms of like the amount of numbers that you can have in a technical area, is the attempt to restrict and enforce that, is that down to the heat of competition within the game, or is it simply down to kind of health and safety and constrictions on space?
It's down to the bylaws, AJ, to be perfectly honest with you. And as I said to you, it's a maximum of 10. We were aware of what the North West Counties pictured at 8, but we took the view that if you have a maximum of 7 substitutes, a manager or assistant manager or manager, coach and first aider should be sufficient just to make it 10, to be perfectly honest with you. So we're slightly more liberal than the North West Counties.
So we're entitled to any 5 from 7?
Yes.
All right, well, I wasn't aware of that at all. I'll have to tell Tommy. That's an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, is there any other different rules in the Liverpool County Premier to what there would be in the North West Counties that we should take note of?
Sorry, Frank, and forgive my ignorance. I'm not quite sure what the rules are in the North West Counties. They've never sent me a copy of them, so I don't know. No. If you want to highlight a couple now, or as we're talking on, something flicks in your head, just mention it, and I'll say to you, well, ours is different to that for X, Y, and Z. For example, I'll give you an example. Our team sheets only have to be submitted 20 minutes before kick-off.
That's a good one. I think ours have got to be an hour.
Yeah, it's an hour before kick-off.
Well, obviously at our level, we don't expect teams to be sitting, an hour before. It's, what we've got to expect at step 6, it's a semi-pro operation. I've got to be honest, we're not a semi-pro operation. Therefore, we're a little bit more liberal, because at the end of the day, I'm not sure, but most of our teams don't pay the players one way or another, and therefore, you're relying on their assistants to turn up to the games, and I'll be honest with you, most of them arrive 30 to 40 minutes before kick-off. So we use the rule 20 minutes before kick-off.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed with the discipline, because I hope I'm not out of turn saying this, but when you were looking after the AGM, you were actually talking to a team that I'm assuming qualified for promotion, but due to the bad discipline record, they weren't allowed to go up.
No. That night, you're quite right. Frank, they had 60 discipline points. Our threshold was 25, so they were 2.5 times the threshold, and the nearest team to that had 47. So you can imagine. And by the way, since then they had one outstanding case, and that was jurisdicted by the FA last week, and they were given an additional 10 points. So they ended up with 70 points, which is exactly 2.5 or nearly 3 times the amount of the limit imposed by the league. So they were refused permission to go up. They're not best pleased about it, and they've been sulking and threatened to take us to the county FA. But I said to them, it's not a county FA decision, it's a league decision.
Yeah.
But listen, apart from that, I mean, the discipline in the Premier Division has been pretty good last season, and over the last few seasons.
Frank, it's excellent, and there is this thing that floats around. I'm sure you've heard it. It's a kicking league and everything else. It isn't a kicking league. I can assure. All right, every game, every now and then, has a couple of instances. Don't care at what level you play football at. I'm a Liverpool season ticket holder, and I don't know what about yourself and what you follow. That's up to you. But it even goes on at Premier League level. There's always going to be issues on the field of play. Our discipline is good. The problem we've got as a league is the off-field discipline. I'm talking about technical areas, dugouts, and issues after the game where, because you come from a hub and walking a considerable distance to the changing rooms, if it's a close or something happens in the game, sometimes that spills over into the position of the end of the final whistle and getting into the changing rooms. That's few and far between, I hasten to add. Most of it revolves around the technical areas, where our teams are, quite frankly, not used to having technical areas. They've never had them in the past. They've only been introduced in the last 3 or 4 seasons, and technical areas marked out. And that's because we tightened up the bylaws.
Yeah. Speaking of the refereeing in the Liverpool Premier League, are you finding that there are, the referees are coming under the spotlights, in much the same way as kind of in the leagues above? I know decisions are questioned anyway, but this kind of spills over into allegations of bias and incompetence and things like that. Do you find that that's like a frequent sort of feature within the games of the Liverpool Premier League?
Well, I should probably know, AJ, we share the same match officials even when you were in the North West Counties, because the North West Counties, the Cheshire and Liverpool League all share the same match officials.
Yeah.
What I have noticed is that the match officials would prefer, and I'll be honest with you, would prefer to do a North West Counties game rather than a Cheshire or a Liverpool game, because they can, the North West County carries a label with it, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And because it's semi-pro, I can understand why that label gets carried on.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of, unfortunately, some of the match officials, only some small minority, come with a bit of a chip on the shoulder. Oh, I'm only doing a Liverpool Premier League, or I'm only doing a Cheshire League. And they come with this preconceived idea, and then all of a sudden it hits them on the nose when they actually get out in the middle of the pitch to start refereeing a game, which is, in my opinion, certainly the top six of our division, is of a standard, it's certainly equivalent of the first division of the North West Counties.
Yeah, and we'll most definitely come to that. But listen, out of your 40 plus years involved in football, what's the most rewarding part of grassroots football during that period? What's been the highlight for you?
Highlight? Oh, God. Well, it's probably, to be honest with you, Frank, it's probably happened in the last 5 years where I think the league, despite its image that gets followed and bandied around, has probably improved considerably. I've been under the auspices of Chairman Pat Farrell and discussions with the clubs that are members, getting them to stick together. I've been quite pleased with the way the league's moved on. Yeah. I think we're far better now than we were pre-COVID, to be perfectly honest with you, where we didn't have technical areas, we didn't have dugouts. The substitution system wasn't the best, the way they operated. There's a lot of issues that have been resolved in the last 4 to 5 years since, post-COVID, that gave us a chance to reorganise ourselves.
Yeah. And listen, just going back into your refereeing roots, I mean, you did, I think at the end of the AGM when I spoke to you, you mentioned that the Liverpool County Premier Division is the feeder league for North West Counties and above. That's where they start, the referees.
Yes.
They start their apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And do you think there's been a vast improvement over the last few years? I mean, we listen to it regularly, don't we? And of course, some managers are a bit more sort of casual about it in approach. Others take it really, really serious. And I think, as AJ alluded to it before, it becomes quite difficult for some particular managers. They always feel as though they're getting picked on. But I believe that, by and large, referees and their assistants do as best as they possibly can.
Can I turn the question and back onto you two before I answer?
Yeah.
What's your both opinions on the refereeing standard last season?
Oh, listen, it was a difficult one, and if you're being really, really, I always find it difficult, and I think psychologically, when you're rooted to the bottom of the division, and all the decisions seem to go against you, and I think it's very, very difficult to come up with a really good, honest answer about that. I remember speaking to a referee going back in our Northern Premier days, and what he said to me was, he said, if there's a 50-50 decision to make, he said, that manager won't be getting it today. And I said, why is that? And he said, because he's a pain in the backside, he always moans, he's argumentative, and he just moans throughout the game. He said, so if there's a 50-50 decision to make, it'll go against him. And I feel as though we tried our best to stop talking to the match officials, because we felt as though the more we moaned, the more we were getting punished. So it's a really difficult one to answer, because I think when you're rooted to the bottom, you just feel as though every decision's gone against you. But we do note that there was quite a few decent referees. There was a really, really good. I mean, we had two exceptional referees last season. Can't remember the name of them, but one was male and the other one was female, and that probably says a lot about the standard of refereeing, from my opinion. But there was good points and there was bad points.
AJ?
I think I'd probably echo, a lot of what Frank said. It's very difficult to kind of see the black from the white when you are at the bottom of the table, and little decisions or little moments that could have meant so much to the outcome of our season had it gone our way, but didn't. It's difficult to kind of put a positive spin on the kind of the standard itself. What I will say is that there are referees in the division who are quite verbal. They will give kind of justification to players in the most kind of menial way, and there are some who will not explain the decision. They won't engage with the team, particularly if that team is being full-throated in their communication. So I suppose for the number of referees, I think you probably always get higher class ones, and then you'll get ones whose standard needs improving.
The only thing I'd add to that, by the way, is physicality and the age of some of them. I mean, we had 16-year-olds, I think, running the line.
Did.
And we also had referees and assistants that were physically not up to the job as well, and they take an awful lot of stick. And yet I find, by and large, that although they sort of lack the physical skills, that they make up for that in terms of what they do on the day. So it's mixed.
And I'll give you my answer now. It's a dual answer. I'll give you the club's version first, then I'll give you my version if I may.
Yeah.
So club's version first, Frank. You're just echoing what our clubs tell us, that the standard is woeful. Absolutely. They go mad, our clubs. Absolutely mad. So you go singing off the same song sheet in that respect. As a personal point of view, and I do the line, 2 weeks out of 4 on the Liverpool Premier League, and I will concur about 80%. I think I must have done about 14 games on the line last season, and I'd say 12 of them the referee was either standard or below standard, and 2 really, really good match officials, one from Lancashire and one from Cheshire, none from Liverpool, by the way. Even though it's my home county, I thought the standard of refereeing from the Liverpool county match officials was poor. Besides this one lad from Cheshire, who unfortunately has now left and gone back to London, he was excellent, and a lad from Lancashire who I had a lot of time for. The rest have just been woeful, and the only way I can do it is I call them the robots. There's no other way. There's no interface with them. They're just robots. The law states. Well, I know what the law states. You know what the law states. But by flashing a yellow card, does that solve the problem? No, it doesn't. Crap.
Do you employ the sin bin as well? Do you employ the sin bin ruling as well? You do? All right.
Yeah, we do.
That's another question. I thought
it was another question. I was thinking of that one.
If I may. Out of the 14 games, I think one game all season operated as sin bin.
Oh,
well, we noticed less of it last season than we did the previous season. And just listen, they changed it a little bit as well, didn't they? Because the season before last, well, you get a card as well, don't you? And a fine. So it doesn't really make any difference, does it?
No.
It's a poor one. But listen, we've talked a lot about refereeing and obviously your exploits. I believe you played in a FA Cup tie at the Shea, the Halifax Town Ground.
Well, in my final years when I was a level 4, I got picked for the third qualifying round, which was the end of the qualifying before the first round. And for me, I think I was in my mid-30s. to be given that and to go to the Shea and be treated, oh God, there's a complete difference, Frank. I couldn't tell you. You know, the poor old Shea as it was, but inside it was really, really nice, and they looked after us really, really well. Decent crowd, out of a couple of thousand people there, and it was highlighted my refereeing career, to be honest with you.
What year was that, Gary?
I remember to be playing. Oh, bloody hell, Frank, now you've caught me on the hop there.
was it before they went out of business and came back into business?
Definitely before they went out of business, yeah.
Right. And listen, what's the worst experience? You've obviously mentioned the lack of discipline, and quite frankly, what you've said is it can be quite scary, the intimidation. Is that still going on at your level, or is that more sort of business houses league?
Yeah, Sunday. I very rarely see it on Saturday in my own league, but that might be because I'm on the line and I'm the league secretary. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Let's be frank about it. It does happen. But, you know, I referee in the business houses, and quite frankly, Frank and AJ, when you get the fixtures and you look and you go, oh my God, no, this is going to be a trouble day. Yeah. And it can be quite scary on an 11 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday morning in the middle of winter, and some idiot who can't kick a ball down Brownlow Hill, you know, is telling you how to officiate a game. It can be quite scary. I haven't been physically attacked, but I've been physically or verbally threatened, and it can be quite intimidating, I can assure you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Listen, we've absolutely, I mean, I said to you on the night of the AGM, we're in no doubt at all that it's going to be a really tough league for us. And I'm talking about in terms of standards of football, but what insight can you give us into the Liverpool County Premier League? What advice can you give us?
The technical area will be quite outspoken to you. They won't be afraid to pass a comment to you. Then I would imagine that goes on in the Northwest Counties, doesn't it? Let's be frank about it. Yeah. You know, people are very passionate about it. I think you'll find the clubs do it properly and fairly. Most clubs are really accommodating. They'll try and do their best to make sure that your experience when you go to their venue is, well, it won't be the equivalent of going to the Marine Travel Arena, I'll be perfectly honest with you, but hopefully they look after you when you go. And you know, at the end of the day, they'll shake hands with you regardless of what's going on the field of play. And hopefully you'll enjoy it. That's the way I look at it. Well, as I said to you previously, our average cautions per game is 1.1, which is really good, and our sending offs are 0.3, which means that, you know, you have to virtually have 10 games before one red card is shown. That's how it works itself out. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's always going to be exceptions to that. I get that, but an average of 1.1 yellow cards per game over some 400 games is really, really good.
Yeah. Listen, in part 3 of the show, we're going to sort of go more in depth about what teams that we're facing and the grounds that we're going to, just for our supporters alone. But how have we been received by the other members of the Liverpool County Premier League? It's in terms of, obviously we're going to be charging entrance fee for coming into the Marine Travel Arena. How's that gone down with people?
It's gone out. Well, when I sent the initial thing out to all the clubs, including yourselves, I made it clear in the email to them, and of course I put it in red to say this club will now charge. Yes. It won't be any different when St Helens were in the league about 3 seasons ago. They charged to get in, Frank. And in the past, South Liverpool, when they were in the league, they charged. It's just because we play at multi-site venues, these hubs, it's really difficult to charge when there's only one entrance for the 3 pitches. And someone needs to say, well, I'm not going to that game, I'm going to that game. And the way the barriers are set up, you can actually watch the 2 games between the barrier, you know, so it's a bit difficult to charge. And I think in over the period of time, as I said to you, South Liverpool used to charge, and a couple of other clubs from memory used to charge, but that's just, unfortunately, just fell by the wayside in some respects.
I think it'd be very difficult to get into the Marine Travel Arena Stadium, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I know, I understand that. And I think, you know, the spectators will just have to be used to getting charged, won't they?
Yeah, and listen, we were left in a predicament in itself because we were half-heartedly expecting there might be a reprieve at the end of the our Northwest Counties season. So we had to get a ground share facility ready for the new season. And of course, we're left where we are, and we're going to still get charged to use that facility as well. So we don't really have a great deal of choice there. But I would imagine a lot of people would be looking forward to making the trip there as well. And a lot of people have already been there, but the facilities are second to none, particularly at this level and way up.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Listen, MSB Walton, they've taken our place in the Northwest Counties. First of all, large credit to Liverpool County Premier League in many ways. You must be proud of what they've achieved, and I almost feel like you played a part in their success as well.
Well, like that grain, Frank, I'd like to think that we have. And their predecessors, obviously, at Lower Breck, who only left the league 5-6 seasons ago, and look where they are now. They're in the Northern Premier League after just become runners up and won the playoffs. So the history of the league is really, really good. Obviously, MSB were disappointed for 2 seasons that they couldn't get the facilities at one of the hub sites up to a reasonable standard. So they're now ground sharing for at least this season with South Liverpool at Jericho Lane, while the facility at the Simpson Hub are brought up to the minimum standards at Step 6. So yeah, we've encouraged them. I think, as I said to you, they were a bit disappointed. I think they didn't win they won the league last season. They didn't win it this season before because they lost a few players when their initial application to join the Northwest Counties was refused, and some of them players then went to clubs that paid, and I appreciate that, really honestly. But they've come back again and dusted themselves down, and they're a real credit to the league, by the way. They do it correctly and properly, and as you probably know, Frank and AJ, they are the biggest club side in England. Did you know that?
Yeah.
With 189 teams.
Yeah, in Europe apparently as well, according to Colin Windrow.
I don't know about Europe. That's a shock to me, to be honest. I definitely knew they were the biggest team in England.
Listen, you learn something new all the time with this show. The season starts on the Saturday the 16th of August. When are the fixtures out, Gary?
Well, to be honest with you, Frank, I've got a bit of a problem affiliating the league at the moment. Our treasurer hasn't passed his safeguarding certificate. So because the system's all automated now, the FA system will not allow until he's passed his safeguarding. So in fact, whilst before you rang to say there was a delay, I was quite pleased because he was on the phone and he's still rabbiting away at 5:30. And I'm thinking, get off the phone, Dave. To go on to a WhatsApp call with Frank. Anyway, I managed to tell him he's having some problems, so I'm going to speak to the FA tomorrow and see if we can get it boxed off so we can do the course. When that's done, we're all affiliated. I can then get the process of getting the fixtures done. The fixtures should be with you mid-July.
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 Yeah, that's not
It's a fortnight from today.
Not too bad. Listen, like I say, we're very much looking forward to being a part of the Liverpool County Premier Division next season. Thanks very much for coming on the show, Gary.
Thank you,
very
Gary.
much appreciated.
Yeah. Well, there is a pre-season meeting. You can pencil this in for the 29th of July at the same venue the AGM was at. So I look forward to seeing you or someone from Scotlandale on the night. Yeah,
you're going to get them rollers sorted out.
So, yeah.
The only thing, the only good part about that was the rollers. I don't know whether I told you, AJ, but the roller shutters weren't working, so it was pretty dark in there. But
God, it was horrendous. It was like going into a morgue, wasn't it? It was bloody awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there was that many people in there with turkey teeth that it brightened the room up a little bit. I don't know whether that makes me popular or upsets a few people, but it was nice to see. Listen, once again, thanks very much, Gary. Look forward to seeing you on the 29th.
Frank, AJ, thanks very much for having me. Take care of yourselves.
Cheers. You too, Gary. Bye-bye. Bye.
Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club, Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles and the lottery bonus ball scheme, and of course the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Berquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the third and final part of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and just to reiterate what we said before, Gary Berwick, great guest.
Berwick. Yeah. Got a really big history within the refereeing community as well. It's kind of heartening to see that he's still going now at the age of 66, running the line. I hope very much that we get to meet him on a match day.
Yeah, well, listen, we will, no doubt about that. Nice bloke, and when I was talking about physicality and what have you, he looks like a prime athlete, even at his age. Yeah, he looks really well for it.
So he should be if he's running the line. Yeah,
just realised now if I'm going to take a break, I'm going to have to take a break after the 29th of July because there's a meet-up. But listen, we wanted to talk about Skev. A lot of people have been asking the questions about what to expect in the Liverpool County Premier League and what teams that,
we hope Gary kind of gave us an insight on all things Liverpool County's Premier League. But it was announced by the league that there will be 14 teams in the Liverpool County's Premier Division next season, including ourselves. And we'll go through the list here. So
well, listen, first of all, what we will do is we'll revisit the league table as it stood last season. There was 12 teams that finished the league, and if we look at the the top 5-6 teams, which I think Gary alluded towards being very, very strong and powerful teams. So MSB Walton obviously won it. Liverpool Nalgo was 7 points behind.
Yes.
FC King Harry, the Grenadier, Joey Orr's FC and the Liver Academy. There was a difference of 20 points between 6th place and 20 points, did I say? Yeah, that's right, yeah. 20 points between 6th and the top. So it's quite competitive. We know that. The sort of lower half of the table, it sort of edges off a little bit. But So listen, a lot of people want to know where the teams, where they are and where we're going to be playing. So we'll go to, obviously we're going to be playing at the Marine Travel
Arena.
So listen, we've got East Villa Rail. East Villa Rail, they play at the Geoffrey Humble 3 hub. The kickoffs will be 3 o'clock there. Daysbrook play at the Lord Derby Academy, which is grass. They're 2 o'clock kickoffs, they will be. Granby Toxteth Athletic play at Tiber Street 3G Hub, 3:30 kickoffs for them. The Grenadier play at Jericho Lane, that's a 3G Hub as well. Friday nights, so there'll be 7 o'clock kickoffs. Halewood Apollo play at Halewood Leisure Centre, 3G again, 2:30 kickoffs. Joey Orr's play at the ASCC 3G Lower Breck Road.
The Anfield Sports Community Club.
Yeah, well, listen, that's the one. Spot on there. 1:15 kickoffs.
1:15, yeah.
The Liver Academy, they play at St John Bosco School, which is a 3D 1:15 again. We've been there a couple of seasons ago. We used to train at St John Bosco. Nice little setup, but listen, people will come to it, but people could have a few shocks. King Harry FC, they play at the same place, St John Bosco. Liverpool Nalgo play at Alder Sports Club. That is grass, 2 o'clock kickoffs for that. MSB Walton Reserves, they play at Simpson Hub, 3G, 3 o'clock kickoffs. River FC play at the Geoffrey Humble, 3 o'clock kickoffs. Sefton Athletic, they play at the Liverpool County FA Sefton branch, 1:15 kickoffs. And Waterloo Dock, once again, they play at the Anfield Sports Complex as well, lower on there, 3 o'clock kickoffs as well. So apart from that, I think there's only 2 pitches, is there, with grass? 2 or 3?
So Daysbrook play on grass and Liverpool Nalgo play on grass as well. That's it. Everybody else kind of plays on 3G pitches, which seems to be the transition of football these days, even at that level, is that most teams would rather play on 3G.
So listen, it's going to be easy for Rowena in terms of cleaning the kit. Because,
just 2 grass pitches
two grass pitches. Nobody will get them in the summer or when it's the weather's not as bad.
Well, you would hope so. Yeah. Again, this kind of leads to what the fixture allocation is going to be, and whether we're going to be playing on whether we are at all going to be playing in the midweek, or whether these are purely just Saturday games. What do you make of that, Frank?
I think most of the games are going to be Saturday. So in terms of the league structure, there's going to be 26 games, so 13 home games in the league. There's a minimum of 3 cup competitions, so technically there could be another 3 home games if you got knocked out of each competition. But the longer you go on in those competitions, the more home games we could be playing. To give you some kind of the insight into the structure of these setups, very few of them have dugouts. The technical areas are not as well marked as what they would be if you were at Bearscough, for instance, or Marine for that matter. So it's really basics. If they're trying to improve the facilities and they're trying to make them more contained, so people can't just walk in there. So, in terms of security and safety, I don't think we're going to have a problem with that, but it's going to be very much different to what we've expected before. And if you imagine the main pitch at JMO, which we used to play on, imagine that before they put the stands in, and they increased the sort of fence, so it was self-contained. You won't have any of that at all. So a lot of football will either be watched behind. I'm not saying John Bosco. You can see there's a nice one stretch from one goal to the other where you can view the football. But I would imagine some of them you're going to have the netting where you're going to have to look behind the sort of exterior fencing before you can watch it. So we've got that to look forward to.
That's really weird.
But listen, we said it in the interview there. With Gary, we're not taking it for granted. It's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough league.
It really is, yeah. And as you kind of gave indication to, our initial turnout for the training sessions indicates that we haven't retained a massive amount of the squad that we had, and a lot of our players will be quite young, quite raw, and I think there is capacity for these young lads to cut their teeth in proper Liverpool football. Now, whether we manage to negotiate into the top 5, that's another matter, but we're going to have to do it the hard way.
Yeah, listen, we're under no illusions at all. If we thought for 1 minute that we could take it easy in the Northwest Counties North, well, we soon forgot that pretty quickly because it was a really tough, competitive division. We're expecting pretty much the same in the Liverpool Premier League, but listen, a lot of these players that have turned up for training, they're working really, really hard. Tuesday night's training session was really, really productive. There's a lot of eye-catching players there. There's a lot of prospect, and we're pretty confident that we're going to have a decent team come the beginning of the season. Yeah, it is a little bit of a rebuild because a lot of players now that were with us last season were not able to. We're not, for one reason or another, we're not going to carry into this new season, and all that experience that they gained under us, unfortunately, is not going to be transferred into the Liverpool County Premier. That said, there's a lot of players now that will be vying for sort of a position in the Northwest Counties, and if that doesn't come off, and they know that they're either going to be on the periphery or they're going to be doing a fair bit of bench warming, then I assume that 1, 2, maybe 3 players will come back. But we have retained a few players at this point. But until you've registered them, there's no guarantee. No. And it's the same for anybody that's registered or not registered players right now. Until you're actually registered, you're not an actual Skem United footballer.
This is this is fair enough, and it is still early days in terms of the training and the creation of the squad. But we do have our first game on Saturday, so Tommy's got an awful lot of organising to do before Saturday comes around.
Yeah, and listen, an absolute big shout out to Marine and James and Paul Leary for humbly deciding to give up their share of not give up their share, but give up the gate to Skem United Football Club. So listen, anybody that wishes to attend that game, it's all ticket. All ticket, because they have a ticket system, booking system there. So I think it's £5 for adults, £3 for concessions. I think children go free or relatively cheap.
Something like that one. It's a cheap day of football.
It's a great fundraiser for Skem as well.
It's a massive opportunity for
we've mentioned how difficult financially things are for Skem at the moment. So if you can get along and help us, it sort of becomes part of our floating fund that we've been talking about. We have got a GoFundMe page set up as well that people have kindly donated towards, but that is still open for people to donate to. But listen, you get something if you pay your money to come and watch us on Saturday. You get to see some football as well, so you actually get something for your money. So you're not donating; you're getting some entertainment.
You're getting a good afternoon out of it, really, aren't you?
In a fantastic stadium, by the way, with fan. And if the weather's nice, they've got a lovely clubhouse there. They've got a great seating area outside. The food is spectacular. It's really, really nice place to go. So listen, if you can support us, get along, because we need as much financial support as we can get moving into the new season. And we're talking about the new season and what we're actually doing now. It's been difficult to retain sponsors for reasons out of our control, mainly due to the fact that one or two sponsors from last season, things are pretty difficult for them.
Yeah, the business side of
everybody's
existing.
Struggling.
Yeah, everybody's struggling. We're still in a cost of living crisis. The whole country can't really afford investment the way it used to be able to, and that's affected some of our key sponsors as well. So two of them have had to step away from sponsoring the club due to those kind of financial uncertainties, and we are very grateful to those companies for their support in past times, and we do wish them very very best of luck on their business ventures in the future. Hopefully they'll come back and support us when they've got more financial capacity to do so. What it does mean, though, is that there is a bit of a gap to bridge for Skelmersdale United to keep on running and keep on running well, which is where we kind of step forward and offer our sponsorship to businesses, to ventures. And we're looking for sponsorship from the top down. So a principal front of shirt sponsor, sleeve sponsors, training kit sponsors, social media sponsors, all of that is up for availability, as well as board sponsorship pitch side at the Marine Travel Arena, where the footfall is in the thousands.
Yeah, listen, and just to bring you an update on what's going on behind the scenes, I can't say too much. I think we've alluded to it before. Progress has been made, albeit incremental, slowly, but in terms of getting us back to Skem, we're still in negotiations with several stakeholders and prominent people that can help us. The aim is still to get back to Skem. Whether that can happen in the short term remains to be seen. I think it's still a project that's going to take 3 to 5 years, unfortunately. But what we've said is we have to keep floating. And the unfortunate side of getting relegated is that once you go back into the amateur realms where we are now, in terms of the funding streams that are available to you when you're in the pyramid, they're not available when you're in step 7. So as an example, I think MSB won't mind me saying this, but their ground sharing with South Liverpool next season, and now because they've got the promotion to the Northwest Counties, they're able to access those funds, which will now go towards rebuilding their stadium, but bringing it up to the criteria that is required. So that's pretty much what And I know people questioned if somebody turned around and said, why don't you just go out of business and start again? Well, to be honest with you, I think this is the better route, the better way of doing things, because if we float at this level, continue our ground share with Marine, then when we do find a place back in Skem, we can hit the ground running. And listen, we're hopes of, like we've mentioned before, about having a junior academy. And I think I went on public record and mentioned the complexities of running a junior academy, and people have mentioned it before. Why don't you do it? You don't connect with the town. There's many reasons for that, and if you don't do it right, if you don't get it right from the start, then you're susceptible to failure, and that is what we want to make sure that we do. And we're drawing off the expertise of others that have been involved and are currently running their own academies, because what we are is we're a community asset. We're not private enterprise. We'll always be a community-driven football club, and I know that sounds odd, considering that we're playing so far away in Marine, but the intention is always to get back into Skelmersdale, and when we do, we want to make sure that everything is right and it's in order and it's got longevity. It can't be short term. We've made the mistakes in the past. Probably when you look at it right back in history, our roots, the reason why we were most successful during our amateur days, our deep-rooted history was when we won the Amateur FA Cup and the Amateur European Cup in the same year. And then when we joined the Northern Premier League, we weren't really prepared for that. That was short-lived. And everything that we've done in every single decade, even though we've had success, it's been built on very, very brittle foundations. So plummeting to our lowest ebb right at the moment has probably done us many favours as well. So we'll carry this forward. We'll use the experience of the failure to rebuild and make Skelmersdale United Football Club a better football club than it's ever been. But along that journey now, that journey that we take from this point onwards, we want people to come and support us at the Marine Stadium when we play next season. Even if you live in anywhere, West Lancashire, Liverpool, Skelmersdale, you're all more than welcome. We'll try and put on a really good level of entertaining football, and I'm sure that so will everybody else within those 14 teams, the other 13 teams that are in that division. Come along, watch what we've got to offer, and listen. Talk to people that you might know that run small businesses or medium-sized businesses that might be interested in supporting the club financially as well. Yeah. We have to pay for kits, we have to pay for ground share agreements, we have to pay for our registration fees, administration, all of those things, fines, everything else. It has a cost. And I know people think it's easy to run a football club. It's far from it. But support Skem, and hopefully we'll get back to where we feel as though we belong one day, but also when we do, it'll be the real deal next time.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah, I know, long-winded again, but I'm very passionate about the football club. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. But moving on to other things, we managed to bring an absolute pearler into the football club, didn't we?
We certainly have, yes. So Skem's appointed a new social media operator in the form of Ben Britton. So Ben joined us at the end of last week after impressing Frank and me in the interview. He's really savvy with his IT, and that's what he does for a living. He monitors IT interfaces for big companies like O2, and now he's using his skills for the betterment of Skem. He is a Skem lad. He grew up watching the club at Stormy Corner, and he was there to see us during our kind of really high ebbs. And he's now joined us, so he will be operating the social media side. He'll be answering some of your questions. He'll be putting out the advertising, and he'll be doing everything that's kind of creative and trying to get us to reach new places on social media that we haven't got to just yet.
And he's bedded in slowly, but from what he's done already, it's impressive. We're liking what he's doing, and we know that now football clubs are very much driven by social media as well.
Yep.
And he's going to improve our social media presence. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We're liking what we're seeing. But listen,
very impressive.
We'd like to thank Sarah Shuttleworth as well, because she stepped down. And Ben has took up that position now. But thanks very much to Sarah and all her help over the last few years.
Yeah, very much so.
And the best of luck in the future. She's
certainly
recently engaged and looks as though she's going to get married at some stage, doesn't she, as well?
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
We'll have a Skem wedding.
I know, yeah.
Turn up in our blue.
Yeah. We don't know whether we'll get invited, but anyway. Listen, shout out to my mate Stewie Thompson, who completed his epic walk from coast to coast on Wednesday night to raise money for the SJT project. We've been the recipient of a first aid kit from Stewie, and we very much admire the work he's doing for local sports clubs. If you want to donate money to his wonderful cause, then he can via his Just Giving page. Stewie's been fundraising for the Everyone Hurts campaign run by the SJT project. Since its inception in 2018, this remarkable initiative has donated over 100 first aid kits to junior and amateur sports clubs across the UK, ensuring the safety and well-being of more than 3,500 participants of all ages. He's donated over 100 kits since he started the project.
Stunning.
Brilliant.
That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, full props to Stewie. He's a very staunch Skem fan, always engaging with what we've got going on. It's really lovely to see his own project being recognised.
And if memory serves me correct, I think the coast to coast is 134 miles. Is it something like?
Depends where you go.
So you should have very, very sore feet.
I should think so. Yeah, but it depends which coast to coast route that you do, because there are loads up and down Britain.
Right, I think he started at Bridlington Football Club.
Yeah, and then ended up in Morecambe.
Southport.
Oh, was it Southport?
Southport, yeah.
Bridlington, Southport.
Yeah, I think he's sort of the connection with the northwest,
that's
sort of
northeast
of the
140 miles, something like that.
Northwest,
Yeah.
So listen, well done, Stewie.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing you during the season.
Very much so.
Yeah. Final thoughts? Anything come to mind? Is there any business that we've not concluded? No.
I think we cover it. We prepare really well on this show, to our credit.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've covered most things that were relevant. I know that we've skipped over our usual acknowledgements on Southport Football Club, Marine Football Club, Clitheroe, but it's off season and not an awful lot is happening around those clubs right now.
Bearing in mind Neil Young, I don't know whether we mentioned that in our last episode. We probably did.
Well, then Neil Young's become the manager.
Neil Young's moved to one side, hasn't he?
He's the director of football now, isn't he? Yeah, and Bobby Grant's taken over. Taken over at Marine, yeah.
And there's been a change of chairmanship at Southport that went through. I think we featured that on the show. That's finally gone through.
Yeah, so Jim Bentley had stepped aside.
No, not Jim Bentley.
Not Jim Bentley. No, he was the manager. God.
The chairman at the time, Peter. Bloody certainly. Oh, listen.
There's a reason why we didn't cover this, because we didn't prepare for it.
Yeah, we didn't prepare for it. But listen, there's been a lot of changes. Listen, good luck to everybody. What we'll try and do in next week's episode, we'll look at what the pre-season friendlies are doing, and we'll give an update on what pre-seasons we've got coming up as well. We've had an addition to our list where AFC Liverpool now next Saturday. So we'll have more news on that. But listen, we'll probably try and pick some pearlers of friendlies that are happening up in the northwest.
Yeah.
Ones that you might want to go to because there's going to be plenty of them.
Certainly are
knocking about. But listen, good luck to everybody in the pre-seasons. Good luck to all the players. Hope you get your moves that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, what have you learned this week?
I have learned that there is just as much scope for being able to attract good talent in Step 7 and the amateur setup of non-league football existence. And just because it is classed as amateur, it doesn't mean that it is in any way to be held to amateur standard.
Yeah. Well, listen, I thought taking a break would rejuvenate the batteries, recharge the batteries.
Okay.
And I'm absolutely knackered already. and the reason I didn't realise how many cuts a full-size pitch would take with a 22-inch cylinder. Is it a cylinder mower? I'm just trying to work out what the difference is between a cylinder and a rotary.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, cylinder. Yeah. So I've got a cylinder mower. I've got a 22-inch cylinder Toro lawnmower. And because we're doing our pre-season training at Tower Hill in Up Holland, the council don't cut the pitch every week because it's not normally getting used. It's out of season. So I toddled off with Rowena, with me.
With your lawnmower?
With me lawnmower, and it took approximately four and a half hours to cut what I would assume was around about 100 yards by 64 yards, and it took 4.5 hours, and we've done it about 6 times since.
No,
so went back,
Frank.
I know, yeah. Went back on Monday. I did put the request out for a
big industrial lawnmower.
Yeah, somebody's got a mower, and to be fair, I've had a fair bit of good feedback on that one. The problem I've got is I don't have a trailer, and I don't have a tow bar. So I need the two. I've got the promise of two, possibly, definitely one, maybe two. Sit on mowers, but by the time I've got a trailer and a tow bar, we'll be playing on the 16th.
We'll have been promoted.
Yeah. So I've learnt it's really, really difficult to mow a full-size pitch with a 22-inch cylinder mower, and even worse is the fact that you have to leave the basket off, the grass catcher, because it keeps cheering up and it keeps stopping. So that's the reason why I've had to mow it that many times. I've had to do it at higher level. And even then, I think the lowest cut I could achieve was 45 mil, where I really have wanted a 30 mil cut. Now, Dave Jones might be listening to this and thinking, what the hell's he sounding like that, trying to sound like a groundsman? But I've learned a little bit about groundsmanship and how much hard work it takes to be a groundsman. So applause to all the groundsmen across the country that have been working diligently through the close season to get all their pitches up to standard, and apart from the 3G pitches.
Yeah, which require very little.
Well, they have to even those pellets out, don't they, somehow?
It's a piece of cake, that, really.
Piece of cake, that is it, right. But listen, that's what I've learnt anyway. It's and praise to all you groundsmen. So, final words to AJ.
You've been listening to the Speaking Frankly Football Show with me, AJ Vegette, and my co-host, Mr. Frank Hughes. You can catch us on most streaming services, including Spotify and Amazon Music. So please try and engage with us there. We would love to hear your reviews and ratings on the streaming services as well. So please rate and review so that we can pick up on your feedback. We're also available on social media platforms under the banner line Speaking Frankly, most prevalently on Facebook and X. So from me, AJ, and Frank, thank you very much for speaking to the first episode of the second series of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.